Well, good afternoon and welcome to Classic Business, which is brought to you by the SA Insurance Association, the Financial Intermediaries Association and the Insurance Institute of South Africa. My name is Kirby Lachranji. I'm a partner at Rexelom Invest and standing in for Michael Avery tonight. And on the show tonight, Amal Tlatla will bring the latest market indicators to us. In our wealth feature, Jason Garner from Old Mutual tells us more about the sandwich generation. And for our market commentary section, Ian Cruikshanks will be joining us to look at the day's happenings. Head of Emerging Products and Innovation for Visa, Hadi Raad, will talk more about the unbanked market in our infrastructure feature. And earlier today, I spoke to David Hodnett. Now, he's the Deputy's Chief Executive Officer and Financial Director for Barclays Africa regarding their interim results. My partner, Anthony Rocky from Rexelom, joins me tonight to talk more about transformational companies and creating returns in a very, very tough environment, especially locally. We'll be looking back at the insurance conference with David Harper, CEO of the Insurance Institute of South Africa. In our panel discussion, we'll talk more about the impact of mis-selling insurance with Jacqueline Boucher. She's the Acting Manager for Investigations and Enforcement at the National Credit Regulator, and Leila Munda, General Manager, Governance and Transformation for the South African Insurance Institute. Lots to look forward to on Classic Business, brought to you by the SA Insurance Association, the Financial Intermediaries Association, and the Insurance Institute of South Africa. Time for the infrastructure feature now. Visa is doing a lot in SA and Africa in terms of bringing the best global innovation to the continent, developing a payment infrastructure and bringing the unbanked into the system by way of smartphones and other technology. Joining me now is Visa's Hadi Raad, Head of Emerging Products and Innovation. Hadi, we talk about this unbanked market because, I mean, obviously this is a large market. Any idea how large it is worldwide?
Well, the unbanked market is still significant, especially when we're talking in a continent like Africa. That could go as large as, in certain countries, more than 80% and even 90%. So we're still talking about a huge economy unbanked.
And I mean, this obviously is if one has to look at business like Visa. Visa is obviously a massively cash flow positive business. The return on assets continue to be very, very healthy for a business such as Visa. But, you know, obviously one is looking forward and one is saying, well, where is the growth going to come from for this business? And it obviously has to come from the unbanked market. Obviously, the money that one has to spend in order to get the unbanked market to utilize the product obviously has to be much larger, which means a lot more investment. Is that true?
Yeah, I would say that one area for growth is the unbanked, but it's not the only avenue for growth. We also need to make sure, and this is what we work for in Visa, we also need to make sure that we have the right acceptance network that enable the bank to use their digital money across. We also need to make sure that we have convenient and easy to use services, whether face-to-face, and this is where mobile payment systems come into play, like Visa Token Service that is powering Apple Pay and eventually Android Pay and all the HCE apps of the issuers, or digitally over the internet, where we're providing services such as Visa Checkout that removes the friction out of online payment. All of this helps the consumer to transact much more easily on digital, as easy as it has been on the physical world. So yes, traditionally Visa historically was plastic and face-to-face with the consumer, but this is changing very fast. Today our offerings ensure that we can grow. Yes, the unbanked is one avenue, but also enabling the digital economy through e-commerce, m-commerce, and enabling displacement of cash even with the unbanked through making the process much easier, like PayWave, where the consumer can just tap and wave the card and move on with the transaction, or use the mobile phone to pay much more easily.
Hadi, when Visa enters a country for the very first time, obviously there's a representative office that gets originated within the country. But does Visa go into a country because there's a specific tie-up that they're looking at with a specific retailer or with a specific distributor? Is that why they enter a country for the first time?
I think that could be answered in different ways. The challenges that we try to solve are several. If you look at the hierarchy of needs of the consumer, right? First, there is a basic need to access digital money, to participate in the digital economy, and this is where we try to help in financial inclusion. Then there is a need of reach. Yes, I do have access to digital money, but do I have places where I can use my digital money? Acceptance, and this is where Visa acceptance and PayWave and traditional POS and MPOS plays a big role in that. Then there is the aspect of security. Do I feel secure and safe to use digital money and digital payments? And this is where products like Verified by Visa, like our Visa token service, comes into play. And then comes convenience and frictionless e-commerce, and this is where products like Visa Checkout comes into place. And finally, value add to the consumer. How can I increase the value of the payment process and make it part of the everyday life of the consumer, integrated seamlessly into the consumer experience? And this is where digitizing the account number on mobile comes into play. So entering a market could be along any of these layers of the hierarchy of need of the consumer. While we might be operating at the financial inclusion layer in certain countries, we could be operating at the value add layer in other countries and markets.
Well, that was Hadi Raad talking about Visa's service offering in this week's infrastructure feature, only on Classic Business. Tune in.